Shalom. General Griswold Grimm ordered me to explain why you should never, ever, ever, ever pay attention to Noah Yuval Harari. Well, it's worse than that. Because he's right. You can't just ignore him. Unfortunately. And he's always right. So apparently there are members of our community who are so open-minded their mind fell out. I recently found out that the word petit, which is the word used for foolishness in the Bible, can be translated as open-minded. Which, yeah. And I was trying to figure out a title for this rant, and you should never pay attention to Harari was on top of my mind, but that's not right either. Because Harari is Vanna White. And I hope even the young crowd knows who Vanna White is. By the way, if you want to join the discussion, please do, because I never know when I need to stop beating a dead horse or explain further why Harari is what Harari is. He's Vanna White from Wheel of Fortune. You know, the pretty woman who turns the letters. And that's what Harari does. I mean, when I first heard the name, I went looking to see, okay, does this guy have any ideas? And the answer is no. He has zero ideas. That's not his role. He claims to be a historian. And historians are really important. Postmodern historians are worthless, and that's what he is. Yiddishkeit washing. Oi, is it? Is that what he does? Yiddishkeit wash? I mean, the man is just such a stereotypical effigy of all that is wrong in the world. So history is important because we use our knowledge of what has happened to know what we should not repeat. To learn the lessons of history, to know, to actually receive the benefits of what people have learned before us. And then postmodernism came into it. And a lot of people correctly pointed out that history can be manipulated, and history is written by the victors, and history, um, there are it's possible to use stories and narratives and false history to change people's minds and to motivate people in all kinds of ways, including to go to war and to do power plays. And they became convinced by the postmodernists that that's actually what history does, that there's no reality to it. Okay? Now, the fact is, there is that this is as exactly, precisely as idiotic as gender ideology, which says that there is no physical component to your sex, that it is possible just to and like this is the crazy fringe of trans ideology. You have to understand, like, vast majority of trans people, and it like we're talking Mott and Bailey tactics here, and here we're talking about the Bailey. Like, this is the completely indefensible concept that that gender and sex are completely unrelated, and there is no correlation between them, and just utter stupidity. Um, and that's infected our history departments. And I mean, you can listen to James Lindsay and see how this type of stupidity is infecting our world. um I don't even know what to say. And the idea that anybody in our little corner, like, this happens to me several times, where I think that it's just so clear that somebody who has no capacity to contribute to our cognition, right? He's Vanna White. He's worse than that. He's Alex Trebek. And if you think Alex Trebek actually could win Jeopardy, like he actually knows the answers, like, how silly do you have to be to think that Alex Trebek has profound amounts of knowledge? Well, I mean, it's not that silly. He went on to sell life insurance to old people, complete scam, and a lot of them bought it. Um, so what you're telling me is this guy is a pretty face? Yes, he is. He is a pretty face, and he is as pretty of a face as our current silly, stupid, like, so a right. Hard pass, right? But that's the pretty face that our stupid. So what do our runway models look like? They look like emasculated, weak young boys, right? What does Harari look like? He's an emasculated, so he's an effigy, he's an icon. And our A brain in a jar. Yeah, maybe a brain in a jar. The funny thing is that Harari can't even say anything truly controversial. He can't have an opinion. He's and he doesn't. I mean, every time I have been afflicted with listening to him, well, see, this is the problem. I can't say never listen to him because he, in a very real sense, is a mouthpiece for what our supposed betters, our elites, actually believe. And he, Jason Allen, hello Jason, I don't believe I know you. I started reading his book and put it down after 20 pages. Just another materialist, reductionist. I've heard that argument over and over again. Right, it's not, he presents nothing novel. He presents the pablum that is popular in Silicon Valley. And so historians have become our new priests, and history, postmodernist history, has become our new way of doing theology, right? And you see that with like the 1619 project, right? The rewriting of history, and join my club, Baldman against her. Jacob is already a member. Hey, Antonio.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So, what do you have to add to this unfortunate discussion of Harari?
I have more questions than anything to add. I don't even know who this guy is and why he's controversial.
Okay. So, I mean, unfortunately, he's not as controversial as he should be. He is a random nobody who has become a popular mouthpiece for what Silicon Valley. Kara Swisher is very similar, in fact, although she's not as much of an empty suit as Harari is. Harari, like, he has these videos where he presents ideas, like he's a TED Talk. That's what he is. He's a TED Talk.
Okay.
And he's just a popular TED Talk that a lot of people like, a lot of hot takes, and so, I mean, Grizz wanted me to talk about him because he's presenting some very stupid ideas which our elite supposed intelligentsia have, these luxury beliefs, but worse than luxury beliefs, they're things
one
that,
of them?
well, he is definitely one of oh, what is one of them?
Yeah. What's one of these ideas?
Well, maybe I should. So, is this what's so 485, I believe. Yeah, this is where Grizz was triggered. So let's play it.
To take an example from my
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
home country of Israel. Every year, the Israeli LGBT community holds a gay pride parade in Jerusalem. Since LGBT people are often excluded from public spaces, threatened, By humiliation and even violence, the parade is meant to demonstrate that they are equal and valued members of society who should feel safe and honored in public. Yet, the Jerusalem parade seldom goes unchallenged. Fundamentalist Jews, Muslims, and Christians who quarrel with each other throughout the year find a common cause on this one day and fume in accord against the LGBT parade. What's really interesting, however, is the arguments they use. The religious zealots do not say these sinners shouldn't hold a gay parade because God forbids homosexuality. No, the zealots explain to every available microphone and television camera that seeing a gay pride parade passing through the holy city of Jerusalem hurts our feelings. Just as LGBT people want us to respect their feelings, they should respect our feelings. So in this case, to determine whether it's okay to hold a gay parade in Jerusalem, we need to weigh one feeling against another feeling. Some people will feel humiliated and even endangered if we ban the parade. Other people will feel hurt if we allow the parade. Which feelings count for more? This is not the place to answer this question, but the key takeaway for our purpose is that in the modern world, many ethical and political conflicts pit one feeling against another feeling. Consider another scenario.
Okay, I'm not.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I heard enough of that.
it's like the presuppositions and that, like, it's just so bad in so many ways.
I can see why it's tempting to ignore him.
Nechama says he's a TED Talk with a side of domicidal ideology. Okay. I went through parts of his Sapiens, and it wasn't liking how much his various ideas seemed to come from nowhere with no justification, even if they were reasonable triangulations. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. I mean, he's postmodernism, like he's a postmodern mouthpiece. Chad, say something.
I'm here. I was saying, too bad you didn't throw in some whoop, but I'm going to be robotic, so I'm listening closely right now.
You did kind of robot, yes, but
Is that the legendary mask with the hole in it?
it is the legendary mask with the hole in it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who needs to hear this. Well, Chezi needs to hear this, apparently, because he has Anne's book in his house.
I'm confused who in this corner is swayed by anything he says. I mean, I haven't heard everything. This is the only thing you've played that I've heard from him.
I'm more concerned about John Vervaeke, crying out loud.
Why are you concerned about John Vervaeke?
I don't know, man. Like, today listening to the Grizz talk, I was like, what the? Maybe I'm just too much of an idiot. I'm one of those people lower in the ranks that shouldn't have heard what he said because it's not elitist ideas that he says he doesn't have, but has.
That's what bothered you?
Yeah.
I agree with him that you have to speak to people at their development, and different people are at different levels of development, and that's why I keep on constantly like making my analogy to arithmetic, algebra, and calculus. I think there's a lot of people who seem to be scared that, like, once you learn calculus, your arithmetic is worthless or something. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. But there are people who don't know their arithmetic, and you can't talk to people who don't know their arithmetic about calculus. You just can't.
Well,
Yeah, no disagreement there.
well, yeah. I don't know. I just there's something about it that felt off, and it's the first time I've ever felt that in listening to John Vervaeke. There was something really off about a bunch of stuff. I'm really glad that Grizz did that interview because, like, he asked questions that I've not heard other people ask in ways that he asked them, and he brought some stuff out into the light that was like, oh, not only does he not have to tell me, but now I know I don't have to listen. It's complete absurdity.
Why is it a complete absurdity?
I like when you've had experiences that are kind of woo, and then to now I understand how he's saying, like, because it was weird. It was like a conflict of things that I was hearing him say. One of them was that woo is total bullshit, but and then he would say, well, it's not that I haven't had experiences like that. I just don't believe that they need to be enforced, that everybody else needs to see that. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just say that instead of, like, say a non-position thing, like, I don't believe in woo, even though I've had experiences with woo.
Okay, so John Vervaeke, and my comment during the stream when I heard what he said about woo was he's straw manning woo, and he is straw manning woo. At the same time, he also his real position is that there is no there is no special truthful content to things which are found through revelation. And I disagree with him on that.
Yeah.
But he's not saying anything that basically all of modernity has been saying for a long time, which is you can't. He doesn't actually believe in a God that answers prayers, that who can inspire you to something that is outside of yourself, which is actual, right? Which,
Yeah.
like, that
You can't
somebody can
measure it.
have a revelation.
Right. Like, you can't measure it, and therefore it's not really a valid thing to bring up in the conversation around things that you can measure, which is all he really seems to be interested in.
Well, okay, so this is why my comment was that he needs to read Holoca Man, which is a Jewish classic that unfortunately cannot. The translation to English fails to translate it to English. But Rabbi Soloveitchik, the Rav as he's known, let me see if I actually have. I've read it before, but let me see if I can find it.
You said Grizz did an interview.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, and the other thing though too was, like, when he talked about the meditation thing, like, he talked about contemplating the meditation after the meditation, which is so redundant and ridiculous to me because um,
Oh, losing Jet.
Yes, we lost. Okay. So, Note 4. I can't believe I got the thing wrong. From Holoca Man by Rabbi J.B. Soloveitchik, note 4. Even though Kierkegaard disagreed with Hegel's philosophy from beginning to end and made it the object of his fierce, stinging attacks, he nevertheless accepted from him the dialectic principle, with many significant changes to be sure. And this concept of the dialectic, which he and Karl Barth introduced into the analysis of the unfolding of the religious consciousness, and this view concerning the antinomic structure of religious experience, which was revised and refined by Rudolf Otto in his book, The Idea of the Holy, give the lie to the position that is prevalent nowadays in religious circles, whether Protestant groups or in American Reform and Conservative Judaism, that the religious experience is of a very simple nature, that is devoid of spiritual tortuousness, present in the secular cultural conscience of psychic upheavals. Chad's back.
Sorry,
Why? Let me actually. No, that's fine. Let me actually.
I had a
This actually
phone
sounds
call.
like a good take.
So the last thing I was saying there, though, the other when he was talking about meditation, I thought was stupid too, because he talked about this next level of meditation where you contemplate the meditation, and again, that's just so redundant because that's what a meditation is. It's contemplation. So why are we
Um,
complicating things?
we are very complicated things. So, and I think Vervaeke, so he doesn't fall into the mistake that that Rabbi Soloveitchik is speaking against. But I think that Vervaeke is making the wrong argument in response to his Protestant upbringing. And again, this is why I think the Rav makes a much better argument. And I put the link in the chat to where I typed this up on my Facebook. But okay, that is devoid of spiritual tortuousness present in the secular cultural consciousness of cyclic upheavals and of the pangs and torments that are inextricably connected with the developments and refinements of man's spiritual personality. The popular ideology contends that the religious experience is tranquil and neatly ordered, tender and delicate. It is an enchanted stream for for embittered souls and still waters for troubled spirits. The person who comes in from the field weary, Genesis 25:29, from the battlefield and campaigns of life, from the secular domain, which is filled with doubts and fears, contradictions and refutations, clings to religious as does a baby to its mother, and finds in her lap a shelter for his head, the nest of his forsaken prayers. Bialik haknisit tachat kanafech. And there is comforted and for his disappointments and tribulations. This ideology is partially embedded in the most ancient strata of Christianity, partially rooted in modern pragmatic philosophy, but mainly it stems from practical utilitarian considerations. The advocates of religion wish to exploit the rebellious impulse against knowledge, which surges from time to time in the soul of the man of culture, the yearning to be freed from the bonds of culture, that daughter of knowledge, which weighs heavy on a man with its questions, doubts, and problems, and the desire to escape from the turbulence of life to a magical, still, and quiet island, and there to devote oneself to the ideal of naturalness and vitality. This Rousseauian ideology left its stamp on the entire Romantic movement from the beginning of its growth until its final tragic manifestation in the consciousness of contemporary man. Therefore, the representatives of religious communities are inclined to portray religion in a wealth of colors that dazzle the eye, as a poetic Arcadia, a realm of simplicity, wholeness, and tranquility. Most of the sermons of revivalists are divided in equal measure between depicting the terrors of hellfire and describing the utopian tranquility that religion can bestow upon man. And that which appears in the sermons of these preachers is in a primitive, garbled form, at times interwoven with a childish naivete and superficial belief, is refined and purified in the furnace of popular philosophy and theology, and becomes transformed into a universal religious ideology which proclaims, if you wish to acquire tranquility without paying the price of spiritual agonies, turn on to religion. If you wish to achieve a fine psychic equilibrium without having to first undergo a slow, gradual personal development, turn on to religion. And if you wish to achieve an instant spiritual wholeness and simplicity that needs not be forged out of the struggles and torments of consciousness, turn on to religion. Get thee out of thy country. So he's talking. He's giving an interpolation that is obviously cynical, sarcastic, of Lech lecha me'artzecha me'moladecha me'beit avicha, right? So that God's command to Abraham, get thee out of thy country, which is filled with anxiety, anguish, and tension, and from thy birthplace, which is so frenzied, raging, and stormy, to the land that is enveloped by the stillness of peace and tranquility, to the Arcadia wherein religion reigns supreme. The leap from the secular world to the religious world could not be simpler and easier. There is no need for a process of transition with all its torments and upheavals. A person can acquire spiritual tranquility in a single moment. Typical of this attitude is the Christian Science movement. So this is what Vervaeke is talking against. Now, the Rav gives a good answer as opposed to Vervaeke's bad answer. It would appear to me that there is no need to explain the self-evident falsity of this ideology. First, the entire romantic aspiration to escape from the domain of knowledge, the rebellion against the authority of objective scientific cognition, which has found its expression in the biologistic philosophies of Bergson, Nietzsche, Spengler, Cloggies, I don't know, and their followers, and in the phenomenological, existential, and anti-scientific school of Heidegger and his coterie, and from the midst of which there arose in various forms the sanctification of vitality and intuition, the veneration of instinct, the desire for power, the glorification of the emotional affective life, and the flowing, surging stream of subjectivity, the lavishing of extravagant praise on the Faustian type and the Dionysian personalities, etc., have brought complete chaos and human depravity to the world. And let the events of the present era be proof. He wrote this in the 50s, I believe. The individual who frees himself from the rational principle and who casts off the yoke of objective thought will in the end turn destructive and lay waste the entire created order. Therefore, it is preferable that religion should ally itself with the forces of clear logical cognition, as uniquely exemplified in the scientific method. Even at times, the two might clash with one another, rather than pledge its troth with beclouded, mysterious ideologies that grope in the dark corners of existence, unaided by the shining light of objective knowledge, and believe that they have penetrated to the secret core of the world. I think this is absolutely correct as a um, critique of woo, and a critique of actual woo, not what Vervaeke strawmans as woo. Now, the I mean, I don't know if you guys can read the rest of it. It's wonderful and it's great, but this is a real rejection of woo towards understanding the scientific and valuing it, which we should. That we shouldn't be clouded by mysticism alone. But the fact is that religion is not about just navel gazing and not seeing how reality interacts with the world. A serious religion actually looks at the world and sees if what you are saying matches up with what the world is like. And that's what Vervaeke does not allow in the woo. He makes woo synonymous with bullshit, and I don't think that's true and correct.
Make woo great again.
Yeah,
he's talking about it. It sounds like he's talking about his experience with propositional tyranny, and like, yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, I don't think, you know, like, I think if you're up against propositions, put them to the test. Sure, like I think that's important. But like, when somebody's sharing their story and it's like a genuine experience they've had, I don't want to discount it entirely. Am I going to live my life exactly by somebody's story? Probably not. But there is a lot of wisdom in that. And so, like, when I hear him talking about, if you're putting it that way, so like Jonathan Peugeot has said this several times about making the point that even the Desert Fathers said, take your mystical experiences and let them go, because you can't live your life by them. It's what are you doing right now? Like, you don't, like, you can't, it's like the idea of you can't stay clean on last week's shower or yesterday's shower. Like, you have to, like, what are you doing right now? And like, that's important to me. But like, the idea of dismissing woo is like, as altogether is crazy. Yeah, I understand, like, coming from a very agnostic, borderline atheist position, why somebody would want to do that. But then we should just throw all fiction out too.
Jacob, you said you posted on a Facebook note.
That's
The Holoca
thing
Man?
by Thorov. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in.
I remember reading it, I think, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's the type of thing that, like, I am constantly like bringing up, because I think ultimately
Gotta get our woo straight.
well, yeah, it's really important to recognize. And no, I don't think it's the propositional tyranny that he's worried about. It's and sorry, but like, I have all kinds of clients calling me right now.
Is it Jim Jones that he's worried about?
So I heard that he had an experience as a child where he came home and nobody was home. And he had heard so much about, like, the
rapture.
The rapture, that he thought his family was raptured.
Was he afraid that he didn't have rapture insurance?
And that'd be traumatic.
Right. So he is worried about people believing things too too much like Protestant fundamentalists. He worries about Protestant fundamentalists because he thinks that Protestant fundamentalism is the default of our society. And in some places it is, right? The people who, like, they say they don't believe that dinosaurs ever existed because the world is 6,000 years old. And so, um, carbon dating must be wrong. And like, they absolutely deny religiosity. Hold on, I have to answer one of my clients.
So, Andrew, what do you think?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Antonio.
Oh, Antonio, I'm sorry.
Oh, you good. Think about Vervaeke or the Holoca Man?
Woo.
Oh, Woo. Yeah, no, I think Woo was great. I I understand his concern because it's something that I saw growing up in my life as an atheist. It's that same kind of Protestant fundamentalism that kind of put me off from religion in general, but I don't think the solution is to straw man Woo or just deny it altogether. If anything, I'd say the last couple of years has just been a lesson in not going into extremes. Basically, you can't go all Woo, you can't go no Woo. They both have their place.
Hezi says Vervaeke has played with the Eastern religions, so he definitely plays in the mystic waters. Yes, and that was part of what he talked about. Was okay. I've done the psychedelic thing. I've done the mystic thing. I've done the meditation thing. I have had spiritual experiences, but he just believes that that's phenomenologically confusing himself from material reality as it actually exists. And he doesn't actually believe that it's possible that there would be revelation, right? So my classic example for myself is in Isaiah. It says, in
Always go
Isaiah,
back to Isaiah.
yes, it says, "My house will be a house of prayer for all the nations." Right? Now, there are people who will tell me that this was a self-fulfilling prophecy, but a majority of the world's population now believes that the Temple Mount is, in a very real sense, God's house of prayer for everyone, in ways that just material reality, right? You're Even 100 years ago, who would have actually believed that the Temple Mount in Jerusalem would be like the focal point of the world's, like a majority of the world's population? And to us, that's a reality. And this is a text that's at least 2,200 years old. I would say even older, but there is no question that this is something that's over 2,000 years old, right? And so Vervaeke would tell me it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, it's in the Bible, and the Bible spread, and because the Bible spread, enough people believed it, and it wasn't really revelation from God. Well, frankly, I think that takes a level of credulity on his part that is just beyond me. I can't believe
That's
right?
Amalek.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but like, I can't believe that the Bible, like, it is so incredibly true. It is so mind-bogglingly true that I don't even understand how people just write it off as these being self-fulfilling prophecies. It's like, yeah, somebody 2000 years ago like made these prophecies and knew that are absolutely incredible prophecies, right? What was like, didn't even know about North and South America, right? Didn't how did Isaiah know that the Temple Mount that would be what it is today? And
Uh,
and that's a level of verification of divine revelation that John Vervaeke doesn't even think matters to me, and it does, right? He thinks that because I am a religious Jew, I am fitting the data. I'm trying to find things that are self-fulfilling prophecies and stuff like that. He doesn't believe that there's any divinely revealed truth in here.
yeah, that's what I was gonna clarify.
Chad has a question. Yes, Chad.
Oh,
So like, we could even take it like a level to a level that, and maybe I'm way off on this, but we could take it to a level that's perhaps relatable to all of us. Like the fact that we can actually make words and understand each other, that in itself is probably the most woo thing that has ever existed, right? And we're just like, oh, whatever. It's like, who cares? And then take it to another level. I'm talking to somebody on a smartphone who's in California. That whole, you break that whole sentence down, there's so much absurdity to it that it's almost incomprehensible. And yet we swim in these waters and we drink them as if they're giving us life, and we don't even we don't experience it other than anything that's completely average. And so like, he drives me berserk on this, because it's like, in the revelation thing, like I had moments of revelation that it was anything but a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, now would he call that, did I bullshit myself when I read the story of Legion? I mean, come on, dude. So
He thinks so. Yes.
yeah, it's hilarious to me. That to me takes a level of like ethics to really work at protecting yourself. And I get it, man. But like, if you've been harmed and stuff, but at some point you got to grow the F up, dude. Like, for real. And like,
okay. So there's a reason I point people who are not at all religious, people who are reductive materialists, to John Vervaeke. But I don't point people who actually are believe in God to John Vervaeke, except as an example of somebody who is a reductive who tries to be a reductive materialist. He's trying to come from the scientific side, and like he is, in a very real sense, I would say he's the devil's advocate against religion. He is the steelman version of like non-theism, and that's an important role to play, but it's not like he convinces me.
yeah, no, I think he brings a ton of value. But then like, But to say all of that, and then at the end of his thing to say, like when Graham asked him, well, what would you suggest that we do? And he names off all these people, and then he says, and I could also teach you. Like, I can be your guru. Like, really? You're going to be my guru? Really? You won't even talk to me in Walmart. Like, kiss my ass, dude. If I'm being too brash. I'm really not trying to be too brash.
No, you're giving voice to, again, something that is very deeply Protestant. I hope you don't mind me saying that.
I'm barely a Christian, for crying out loud, dude.
No, Chad, you grew up in American culture, and American culture has deeply ingrained in it many very important, deeply theological points that are uniquely Calvinist and Protestant. And one of them is the priesthood of the people and this attempt to flatten hierarchy, which has its place. The problem is it's gone wild in American culture. And so there is an idea of, look, yes, you know how to lay tile, and you know how to do the construction in ways that Chezi, as an architect, like, he could never lay the tile. That's 100% true, right? But ultimately, when you want to build a cathedral, you're going to have somebody like Chezi, like, doing the things that Chezi does that you are not capable of, in order to make it possible for you to lay the tile finally in that cathedral, right?
Right.
And, like, it is a very unfortunate idea people have that, like, Chezi as the architect is somehow superior to you as the person who lays the tile.
Right.
And it's not even true, because, like, laying tile is, like, one of the most intellectually demanding skills you can have, right? I was not aware, like, there's a reason why Sir Roger Penrose, like, he spends so much time on tessellations, right? This is like, we can't even get computers to figure out how to do what you're doing, Chad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of people don't grasp. And so
but we do work in tandem, right? Because, like, again, like you said, like, I couldn't be the architect. I don't have the skills to do architecture work. But there should be, and this is where our in my field of work, working along with the architect, where it goes sour, is when there is no good communication between the tile setter and the architect. Because the architect, he just got a call from some Yahoo who says, I got this grout that's great, and really, you're gonna want it. And then so he's like, this guy, he just sold me some great grout, and he puts it in the specs. I get to work with it, and I'm the guy who realizes that this is the most trash piece of garbage grout that there ever was invented, and it's probably unethical that it's even being produced and put into the hands of tile setters around the world. But I can't tell him that, and he continues to put it in his buildings, and it's causing way too much grief, way too much money, and frustration in the lives of poor tile setters like myself. When I can go to him and say, don't do that, because I'm telling you, you're not getting a better deal. It's an inferior product. It doesn't do anything better for anybody except make those evil bastards money. And spread the lie that mankind can make things better than make products. Man-made products are better than nature's products. Like,
well, okay. I mean, again, so ultimately, like a good architect is going to actually listen to the feedback, and frankly, like this should be going up the line, right? So ultimately, like whoever you are talking to on a daily basis, who's supposed to be resourcing your materials, like should be listening to you, and at least the architect, like yeah, and the so yes, there needs to be better communication. But what there cannot be is a demand that if um, if you do go up to the architect and you say, okay, something he can't necessarily have to teach you all of his work in order to say, you know what, there are other things which I'm not gonna be able to even explain to you, which tell me that no, I have to use this grout, and I have no idea like
right.
what exactly, but like it's not elitist to say that there has to be a hierarchy, and ultimately the architect and the people who do the plan check that the building's not going to fall, right? I don't know. Maybe the grout is just so much lighter than any other grout. And like if you use good grout, the building would fall. I
Yeah.
don't know. Right?
Sure. Right.
But so having hierarchy is something that unfortunately we're just so opposed to that we think that it doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, no. It actually does matter.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's just
We'll make craftsmanship great again.
yeah.
Together.
Yeah. It was just like my initial reaction to that. It was like a whole little run in there of stuff that he was saying that was like, oh, oh, oh. That's all.
Yeah, I think at least part of it is that he is so anti-Protestant, which is part of the reason why I love him. That I think he sometimes, and it's funny that I think their relationship with Paul has helped him not be as bad as I think he probably would have been a few years ago.
Mhm.
But I don't know. So this is the thing with Viveki. Like, I think he has really important ideas, but I don't actually listen to him all that much because sometimes it's like, you know, either he's saying things I already know or things I actually think, okay, this is not his area of expertise, or things which are so much his area of expertise that like I don't even care and I'm willing to outsource my cognition to him. So I don't interact very well with Vervaeke.
Mhm.
But I respect him a lot, and I think he's incredibly important. And um, I think good distributed cognition comes when you're willing to say to someone, okay, I trust you in your field, and I trust you enough that if it's outside your field, I think you will have the humility enough to kind of be like, okay, this is beyond me. And I do trust Vervaeke in that mostly.
Mhm.
Um, and once you have good distributed cognition, you don't even notice it. You only notice, and this is part of what Jordan Peterson has been saying, and a lot of people have been saying lately, which is you only spend time thinking about things when there's something wrong. You only start you only think about yourself when you're miserable. When you're not miserable, when you're life is going well, right? You don't even think about yourself at all. You think about everything but yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm glad that Grizz did the thing. I'm really happy for him. That was really cool. Probably one of the better interviews I'd ever heard. Because he uncovered some stuff that was cool. So what's up with this Yuri dude that you're supposed to be talking about?
This Harari dude,
Yeah.
Noah Yuval Harari. He's a mouthpiece who says a lot of stupid things for people who have made very important and stupid decisions in our lives. And so a lot of people view him as the effigy. And that's what I meant by he is Vanna White.
Right.
Like he's the face of a lot of stupidity in our society. And I wish the people that he listens to and the people who have made his career weren't the people who are making decisions, because they're not as smart as they think they are. But
that was my idea around Vervaeke. So that's what I mean. Like, and so we're going back to the hierarchy thing. So like there's this other downside to the hierarchy where you get people who think they're mean well and think their ideas are supreme and great, and they're going to get propagated down to us. And
our hierarchy is broken. There's no question about that. And I think anybody who's serious realizes that. And what I come across is a lot of people who seem to think that the way forward is to try to not have hierarchy. And it's like, no, that's impossible. That's like, so about Overeaters Anonymous?
Yeah.
Right. And so Alcoholics Anonymous and Overeaters Anonymous try to have the same model.
Yeah.
But they can't have the same model.
No.
Because you can tell an alcoholic never to drink. You can't tell an overeater never to eat.
Right.
And I would say that's a similar thing with hierarchy, and a lot of people who are trying to wean themselves off a hierarchy. Like there's this joke about a guy whose horse dies, and he laments, "Oh no, I almost had him weaned off food." Right? That was my best horse. I almost had him weaned off food. It's like you can't you can't wean yourself off hierarchy and human social relationships.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do that, and that's just dumb and stupid. And that's what I think Jordan Peterson keeps on saying, and why he's at the same time not saying anything new, and he's so controversial.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I think you're doing great things there, Mr. Jacob. I got a pizza. The doorbell's about to ring here shortly, so I don't want to answer the door with this thing on. Freak the dude.
I have clients I have to get back to. I'm going to end the stream. There's a stream later that Mark is doing. You guys can talk then.
Mark's navigating patterns.
Yes.
Mark navigating patterns. It's going to be huge patterns that we're going to navigate.
Yes, it's going to be great. The best patterns.
Mm-hmm. The greatest patterns. The greatest navigation that's ever happened.
Yes.
We're going to make